Welcome to the video on simplifying an expression by factorising out a bracket. So we're going to look at factorising out a bracket in just a short while, but I just wanted to come back to a slightly easier example to factorise. And what are we doing when we factorise? Well, we're trying to find the highest common factor of everything in the expression. So the highest common factor here, well, we can bring a 2 out because 2 goes into the first term, 2 goes into that term, and we can bring an x out as well. Why? Because x goes into this and x also goes into that term. So that's the first part. And then obviously to get the 2x squared we've multiplied by x, and then to get the minus 6x we've multiplied by minus 3. So that is fully factorised. We can check our answer by expanding the bracket, so we get 2x squared minus 6x. So I just wanted to go through this example first, just to make sure that we know how to factorise, because we're going to need this later on. Okay, so this is the first example where we have brackets involved. So as you can see, it's very similar. If we ignore the brackets for a second, we've got 2 and then that bracket squared, and we've got minus 6 of that bracket. So it's very similar to the example that we've just done. It's just now that we've got a bracket. So we need to find the highest common factor of both of these terms. So the highest common factor of 2 multiplied by x to the minus 5 in brackets all squared, and the highest common factor of minus 6 and then in brackets x to the minus 5. Well, x to the minus 5 in the bracket is in both of them, so we know that that can come outside. So we'll put that there. And then we also know that there's a 2 in the first term and minus 6. Well, 2 is a factor of, or the highest common factor in fact, of both 2 and minus 6. So we'll put that outside. Then I'm going to do a big bracket because we'll have the inside. So to get 2 and then in brackets x to the minus x minus 5 in brackets all squared, well, we need another x minus 5, and then to get the last term, so minus 6 in brackets x minus 5, we need minus 3. And we know that that's true because then when we expand this out, we will obviously get that. So it's very similar to the example we've just looked at. However, in our big bracket, we have this. So x minus 5 and then minus 3. So we can simplify that further. So that's what we'll have to do. So we'll carry on. So put the equals in actually. Okay, so now we'll simplify what's in our big bracket. So we've got x minus 5 and then minus 3. So that will become x minus 8, and then we'll be left with this, like so. So we've worked through, we've factorised by taking out a bracket, and then we've ended up with this as our last line. So we're going to look at some more examples to really solidify our knowledge of doing this. So again, do another question to continue and follow on from what we've just done. So we want the highest common factor of both of these terms in the expression. Well, we can see that the x minus 1 bracket appears in both the first and the second term, so we'll bring that out. And also we have 5 in the first term and minus 10. So we know that the highest common factor of those will of course be 5. Then we do exactly the same thing as what we did before. we'll set up a big bracket. How do we get 5 and then in brackets x minus 1 all squared? Well, we need x minus 1 in brackets. And then how do we get minus 10 in brackets x minus 1? Well, we need a minus, obviously. To make 10, we need a 2. And then we don't need the bracket, because when we expand this out, it will be the 5 and then brackets x minus 1 that gives us that bracket. Again, we need to deal with what we've got inside the big bracket. So again, I'll write my equals, keep forgetting to do that. So we'll have 5 x minus 1. And then in our big bracket, we'll have x minus 1 minus 2. So drop down to another line of working. We've got 5 x minus 1. And then we'll have x minus 3. So that is fully factorised, and we're done. Okay, so slightly different example now, because the part that's squared has moved to the end. But again, that's no problem. We'll just work through it. So we'll look at the brackets first, like we have been doing. Well, we know that the bracket x minus 1 is a factor of both, so we can bring that out. And then if we look at the coefficients of that bracket, so 8 and then minus 4, well, what is the highest common factor of those? Well, 4. Then again, we set up our big bracket. So each time you should be getting a big bracket. To get that first term, we need a 2 here. And then to get this outside term, well, we need a minus. And then we've already got the 4, so we don't need a number there. So we just need the bracket, so the x minus 1. Like so. Because we know that if we expand this out, if I change to a slightly different colour, if we expand this out, well, that will give us 8x to the minus 1. And then if I write this in green, let me expand this part, green part, well, we'll get minus and then 4x to the minus 1 all squared. So that bracket is squared. Yep, so we know that we've factorised this correctly. So what have we got to do then? Well, we've got to simplify the big bracket like we have been doing. So we've got 4, and then we've got x minus 1. Okay, so this big bracket we need to be very careful with now. So we've got 2, and then we've got minus here. So it's almost, obviously in maths we don't write it, but there is sort of a little minus 1 there. So we've really got to expand that bracket by timesing by minus 1 to help us. So timesing that out, we'll get minus x, and then minus 1 times minus 1 is positive 1. So that's a very sneaky part to this question, and something you need to be careful of. Because had we not have noticed that minus, and we just write minus 1 at the end, we'll get the wrong answer. So something to be very, very careful of. So carrying on, so we've got 4, and it was x minus 1. And now we just need to just collect the numbers in the big bracket. So we'll have 2 plus 1, which is 3, and then minus x at the end, like that. And that is now factorised. So we're on to our last 2 examples. Now, I've deliberately changed the letter because I think in algebra sometimes students get very used to using x, but we could use a, we can use any letter of the alphabet or any symbol that we like. So here I've used a, but it's exactly the same steps, so we'll make a start. Right, what is a factor of both? Well, we've got a bracket with a plus 2, so we can definitely write that on the outside, like that. Now, do 15, and we'll just ignore the minus, so do 15 and 7 have any common factors? Well, the factors of 15 are 1 and 15, 2 doesn't go into 15, 3 does, and 5. Are there any more factors of 15 that we can think of? I don't think so. What are the factors of 7? Well, we've got 1 and 7. 7's obviously a prime number. So the highest common factor that they have is 1. So we'd have to write 1 on the outside. Obviously in maths we don't really write that, so we'll just drop that. So again, we'll set up our big bracket. So what did we multiply the bracket a plus 2 by to get 15 in brackets a plus 2? Well, of course 15. And then what did we multiply the bracket a plus 2 by to get minus 7 a plus 2, where the bracket is squared? Well, minus 7 a plus 2, like that. So again, we just have to now simplify the big bracket that we have. So we've got a plus 2, and then simplifying this, so we have 15. So we're going to have to expand this little bracket that we've got here. So minus 7a minus 14. And again, we'll just simplify that. So we've got a plus 2. 15 minus 14, well, that's just 1. So we've got 1 minus 7a. So that's our, that a I've drawn there looks like a bit like a 9, so I'll just redraw that in. So we're left with a plus 2 in brackets, and then the other bracket 1 minus 7a, which of course is now fully factorised. Okay, so this will be the last example of this video. So just like we've done before, we look at our expression. What is common to both parts of the expression? Well, this bracket a plus 4 is definitely there. So we have a plus 4. And then we set up our big bracket. And then obviously we'll have something here. I just want to talk about the numbers before the bracket, so the coefficients, so 19 and minus 3. What are the factors of those numbers? Well, for 19, 1 and 19, because 19 is a prime number. What are the factors of 3? Sorry, so we've got 1 and 3. Again, 3 is a prime number. So the highest common factor that they both share is this 1. So we could write our 1 there, but obviously in maths we very rarely do that, so we don't need that. Okay, so now we turn our attention to this big bracket that we're about to set up. Well, how did we get this 19 in brackets a plus 4? Well, 19 multiplied by the a plus 4, so that's fine. And then how do we get this part of the expression? Well, if we have minus 3, and then this bracket is squared, so we're going to need a plus 4 again, like so. So that's our big bracket dealt with. All we need to do now is just simplify it. Again, exactly like we've been doing before. So we've got a plus 4, like so. Then 19. So if we expand this part, that'll help us simplify it. So we've got minus 3a, and then minus 3 times positive 4, well, that's minus 12. So like so. And again, then we just need to collect like terms. So we can do that. So we've got a plus 4. And then 19 minus 12, well, that's just 7. we've got 7 minus 3a, just like that. And there we go. That example is now factorised. So that's the end of the video. Key things to take away. Well, in every time where we factorise out a bracket, we should be looking, is that bracket common to both expressions? What are the coefficients? So, i.e. the numbers before the brackets, and do they have a common factor that we can bring onto the outside? And then it's just a case of simplifying the bracket that we then have. So that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching.